John here, and today we're going to talk about a review, Cobra. And what more can you say about Cobra? It's a great action movie, definitely underrated, and so much more here. Now, the plot real quick. So, you have Stallone in the film, who's Marion Cobra, and he's the toughest now street cop who doesn't play by the book. And he has to protect a witness to a murder that's done by the serial killer, the night slasher, and played by Brian Thompson in the film. And the night slasher is connected to this strange murderous cult known as the New World Order, and they have an agenda to spread their society. So now Cobra has to protect his witness and stop this cult, and that's the plot to the film here. And the film is directed by George Cosmatos, but there's always been that conversation of, did he direct the film or did Stallone? Because the same thing with Rambo 2. Cosmatos' name is attached, but, Stallone could have very well directed Rambo 2 in this movie. I don't know if we'll ever know entirely for sure, but, I would love to believe that Stallone directed Rambo 2 and Cobra, and maybe, Cosmatos was kind of, sly step and fetch. I do believe, George Cosmatos directed Leviathan, which is a great movie. And he also directed Of Unknown Origin with Peter Weller. And that's a film that I've heard a lot about but haven't seen. Someday I would like to give that a watch. And George Cosmatos, also worked on Tombstone. But all the stories that I've heard about this guy is that he was very tyrannical on sets. And he would often clash with actors. Michael Biehn talked about that on the Michael Rosenbaum podcast, where George Cosmatos was very tyrannical and yelling at extras for no reason, and so Kurt Russell took over directing duties with Tombstone. That I would love. I do believe that happened, but. Yeah, I mean, all the stories that I've heard about this guy, nobody liked him. He didn't get along with anybody really. So, but like I said, I would love to believe that Stallone directed this film here, and Stallone also provided the screenplay, and I totally forgot about that until we were discussing the film last night. That Stallone provided the screenplay here. So, yeah, Stallone. I thought he provided a good screenplay here, definitely, and especially throughout the film here, you can definitely see the Dirty Harry influence, and I think that's very apparent when you have, two members in the cast here that were in the first Dirty Harry, Rennie Santoni and Andrew Robinson. Andrew Robinson was Scorpio in the first Dirty Harry. And I think, Randy Santoni, I think he was the young rookie partner in the first Dirty Harry film. So you could definitely see the Dirty Harry influence here with this film and the screenplay and, so much more. But let's talk about the cast here. Now, the cast here, Stallone as Marion Cobretti, such a great character. And you think about that look of the character. And between the glasses and the match and the different lines, throughout the film, you're a disease and I'm the cure. I don't deal with psychos. I put them away. And, no matter what you feel about this movie, because for one, I do feel it's underrated, but, I know for a while, like out there, people thought, oh, this film is so bad it's good, or it's trash, or it's 80s cheese, or I don't care about that stuff. To me, and people can have their own opinion about the movie. I'm not saying, or bashing people for feeling that way, but I don't agree with it. To me, the Cobra character is iconic between, again, the glasses and the match and the pearl handle Colt 45, and the opening of the film where he gives, the crime statistics, and so much more here throughout the movie. You know, the car, the Mercury. I forgot which year it was, but there's a lot of things here that, you know, for me, the Cobra character has a very cool aura, if I could say the word right. You know, like what Dirty Harry, what that character did for the 70s, Cobra, you know, was the Dirty Harry of the 80s. And again, you could definitely see that influence here with this film and, you know, the way that Stallone played this character, bringing that same kind of approach. And it's unfortunate that we never got a trilogy or, you know, a series out of this film here, you know, because I would love to have seen more. You know, what Stallone could have done with a trilogy of movies. But yeah, like I said, Stallone is great in the film. You also have Brigitte Nielsen, you know, who a year before was in Rocky IV. And, you know, at the time, you know, Stallone and Brigitte Nielsen were an item. Right? You know, they were married, I believe. But yeah, Brigitte Nielsen, I didn't mind her in the film. I thought she was good. You know, she held her own. To me, she wasn't annoying or anything like that. You know, she wasn't dead weight. Again, I liked Brigitte Nielsen. Brian Thompson as the Night Slasher, very intimidating. And it's just unfortunate, like, you know, Brian Thompson, to me, is a great actor. He always, like, he has a very unique look and a very unique voice that not a lot of actors have. And we just don't get actors like that anymore, that, you know, villain actors, character actors, if you want to say. But, you know, you just don't have actors, you know, that now can play villains like a Brian Thompson, you know, that give off that intimidation, this very unsettling vibe. And Brian Thompson is not a guy that I would want to bump into in an alleyway. You know, I would turn the other way. You would not want to meet this guy in a church, you know, or anywhere else of that matter. But, you know, I mean, yeah, Brian Thompson is a great actor, and he does such a great job as the Night Slasher. You know, a character that doesn't have to say much, but you get the vibe of this character here, that he's a serial killer, and, you know, he has, you know, a connection to this cult and the certain looks that he would give, and, you know, not much to say in terms of dialogue, but body language, body expression. And he has that look. And Brian Thompson, I mean, of course, he was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. You know, let's not talk about that. But he's been in other films, you know. I know he was in Fright Night 2, which I haven't seen. But he was in Dragonheart. He was in Joe Dirt. So, yeah, Brian Thompson's great. You also have Randy Santoni, you know, who I remember as Poppy. Yeah, Poppy from Seinfeld. But he's good here as, you know, Cobra's partner. You know, Andrew Robinson, who's an authority figure, Monty in the film. And again, you know, he was Scorpio in the first Dirty Harry film. And he was the father, or the stepfather, in the first Hellraiser film. But, yeah, Andrew Robinson's a great actor. And he's the character in the film that, you know, is an authority. And he's giving Cobra a hard time. You know, again, he was good here in the film. You know, Art LaFleur, this guy, I know you've seen in a lot of movies, you know, from The Blob, you know, 88. He was also in The Sandlot. He was Babe Ruth. And I think he was in The Death Warrant with Van Damme. And unfortunately, he's passed away. But, you know, Art LaFleur, it's cool to see him in the film. You know, he's, again, another authority figure in the film. Marco Rodriguez, yeah, he's the guy in the beginning in the supermarket, where he, you know, he's blasting away people, and, you know, Cobra has to go in there and take him out. You know, that's Marco Rodriguez. I know I've seen this guy in other stuff, but yeah, I mean, overall, you know, the cast is great here. And, you know, another thing that I love about the film, of course, is the soundtrack. You know, you can't talk about this movie without mentioning the soundtrack. A lot of great songs, throughout the film, whether it be Angel of the City, Feel the Heat, Hold On to Your Vision, and that song at the end of the film, Voice of American Sons. I love that song. And to mention other things here about the film that I really love, the tone of the film, I mean, it definitely feels like a slasher. I mean, you do have your moments of action, throughout the movie, but there's also this tone that it definitely feels like a slasher, and that's why I kind of wish we could have gotten a sequel or, a trilogy where they can really expand on that. What other dark forces, Cobra could have taken on in a series, of, a part 2, a part 3, and what have you. But, I think in the beginning where the opening of the film where you have this cult, they're clanging their axes together, and then you see, Stallone talk about crime, the Cobra character talk about, crime, and, I love the use of the color red, this kind of red filter that, you see in the beginning, and, there's a lot of great night shots, again, Cobra, the character of Cobra, I just love that, he plays by his own rules. He's not by the book. Again, he has that Dirty Harry, demeanor, and he got some great action scenes. We all remember the car chase, with the Mercury. It's a great car chase. And again, when you get towards the third act of the film, you get some great bits of action, where he's in the hotel and he knows that, they're coming, and he's building that gun. I forgot the name of that gun. We mentioned it last night, but, it has a laser point, and I really love that gun. And he got some great action at the hotel where, the New World Order show up and they want to kill the witness. A lot of great gunplay. And he got Cobra on the back of the truck, mowing people down, and leading up to the foundry, the, final showdown in the foundry between Cobra and the Night Slasher. And, the Night Slasher, time to bleed, pig. And again, Brian Thompson does a great job here. And I love some of the quotes that were used in the finale. People that have seen the film know what I'm talking about, but, great comeuppance for our villain. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here. And also too, the film moves at a fast pace. I mean, the film is 87 minutes. Now, rewatching it again, you could definitely tell, and I can really tell, there seems to be a lot of stuff cut out here. And that's why, for one, there's this work print out there that has like 30 or 40 minutes of extra footage. I don't know if we'll ever see that work print. God knows what state it's in now, but, I would love to see all that stuff. I would love to see all that stuff that was taken out of the film, because you could definitely, and I definitely could tell, rewatching this again, because I have not seen this in a few years, and I'm like, man, there's so much that was taken out, and you can really tell that it was chopped down. And I would love to have seen, what other stuff, what other scenes could have been, added and whatnot. And I know there is a Shout Factory Blu-ray that has some interviews. And of course, you don't have Stallone up there, but you do have Brian Thompson, and I think Andrew Robinson. But I mean, the couple of features on here are from the DVD, like a commentary by George P. Cosmatos and a making of featurette. But maybe someday I would like to pick up the Shout Factory release. But yeah, so I think I've covered a lot here with this movie. So yeah, it's time to get to my final thoughts on Cobra. Sylvester Stallone delivers as Marion Cobretti, who brings a Dirty Harry style approach to eliminate crime in great 80s fashion. Brian Thompson as the Night Slasher is intimidating and unsettling, entertaining action scenes, great soundtrack, and tightly paced. A Stallone classic in my book. And out of 10, I'm going to give Cobra a 10 out of 10. But thank you for watching, and have a good day.